just, you know, laying on the floor, bro. Just not doing mobility, you know, just slacking, being a lame, stiff pile of crap 13 days out.
Welcome to a brand new video, my friends. We are here in my living room, all right? We got a foam roller, we got a lacrosse ball, and I'm gonna show you guys what, oh damn it, come back. I'm gonna show you guys what I do for mobility, okay? To keep me nice and loose. Here it is, look at that, the force, all right? Put like a Darth Vader mask on me or something, and like my lightsaber in red, cool. I'm gonna show you guys what I do for my mobility, okay? I would be lying to you if I said I did this every single day, but you know, for a very, very long period, I was doing this every single day, right? So this is incredibly important for me, you know, leading into the show. I don't want to have muscle cramps. I don't want to have pain. I don't want to deal with any contraction issues, right? Leading up to the show. So I'll show you guys what I do for my morning mobility. And I have been doing this every single day for the past 3 days, and I will continue to do it for the rest of prep. So let's get into today's video. No, little prep update for you guys. This is Sunday. Today's Sunday, we're 13 days out. Today and tomorrow, I believe and I hope, are my last days at 100 grams of carbs. So my last day is really pulling down as much as we freaking can. I had a 250 carb refeed on Tuesday this week, and I weighed in the day after at 178.2. The next day I was 176.4, next day 176.6, then 175.2, and then 174. And I am clearly the leanest I have ever been in my entire life. This was this morning's photo. That is the leanest I have been in my entire life by far. So the leanest I've ever been, last year I stepped on stage around 172. So only 2 pounds up compared to last year's stage weight. But here's the thing, you know, if I were to continue digging last year and I did my prep right last year, I probably would have been in the 160s. I wasn't as lean last year as I was now in that photo. We can put it kind of side by side of what I looked like, you know, day of the show and what I looked like today. But, you know, I'm just right there. You know what I mean? There is nothing hanging on me right now. I can literally even see like my lower ab definition come through. I'm right there. Jerry knows it too. Jerry's like, Chad, you're freaking shredded, dude. And we're gonna go ahead and get into this morning mobility. Yeah, let's do this thing. Starting off, lacrosse ball, right? If you don't have a lacrosse ball, use a baseball, use a softball, use a tennis ball, okay? Lacrosse ball is what I like. It's bouncy. You know, that's the only reason I like it. So we're starting off with the most painful part, okay? Now, 9 out of 10 people that you meet are gonna say, hey, I've dealt with lower back pain before. Here's the thing. Your lower back is not the root cause of the pain. Everyone's like, oh, my lower back hurts, and they start rubbing on their lower back and they don't feel anything. It's because it's not rooted from that. It's rooted from the surrounding connective muscle tissue, which is your quadratus lumborum, your glutes, and your hamstrings, okay? So mainly it's gonna be your glute medius, and this is the muscle that's right down here on the side of the glute. So what I like to do is I like to put the lacrosse ball against the wall, and I just like to roll side to side on that. And I promise you, you're gonna feel a big pain, a big pressure point. Once you feel that pressure point, which I'm on right now, you just roll back and forth on it, and you do that for, I mean, as long as you can, 2, 3, 4 minutes until you feel that pain relieve. And it's, like I said, it's painful, it takes patience, but if you can take time aside to do this every single day, 10, 15 minutes every single day, you're gonna relieve your lower back pain, you're gonna feel incredible in the gym. And if you're sitting down a lot, like I have been, you know, I have a standing desk, but the reason why I've been sitting down so much is because of prep. Like I'm just fatigued, I'm tired, and I've been sitting a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's led to glute tightness, it's led to lower back tightness. So this is something that I need to do daily, especially if you're working in an office, right? If you're working in an office, it's incredibly important. At my old office job, I would literally sit down 8 hours a day, right? And so, you know, coming back and hitting legs was not fun, especially on my first prep. So this is something that's incredibly important to roll across, just on that glute and the other glute. And I'll show you guys the next thing after this. For
you're doing this right, that pressure point, you should literally feel a sensation go all the way down to your foot. Like it's no joke. And like that's, you know, if you're ever doing with like sciatica, that's what people like to call that. There it is. You know, that kind of like that nerve flare up that you feel all the way down your leg. The root cause is tight glutes. Tight glutes come from sitting, come from squatting, come from constant leg tension, right? Super important that you keep your hips very mobile. Next two are go hand in hand, like with sitting down all day, right? Posture. And I'm not gonna lie, like I can't sit here and say I have the best posture in the world. My neck naturally protrudes forward from sitting on the desk, like shoulders rounded forward from sitting on the desk as well as just slouching, right? So one of the best ways to overcome this, you know, is from tight traps. You know, tight traps is usually the cause of neck pain, neck strain, and neck being tilted forward a little bit, as well as rounded shoulders comes from an over tightened chest, okay? So one thing to keep in mind is you guys wanna keep your traps and your chest and your pecs very, very loose. So with keeping my pecs loose, what I like to do is I put the cross ball on the corner of the wall right here, and I just roll across my pec minor, just like this. You can also do a normal chest stretch, which is essentially just putting your arm against here, leaning forward. I like to do that, and I also like to do this to help release that scar tissue buildup and keep my pecs loose. The looser you can keep your pecs, the more naturally that your shoulders will be back into line. Traps, again, that neck pain that you're getting, right? It's not the actual neck, you know, it's the surrounding connective muscle tissue, which is your traps, right? And your traps tend to get a lot of strain. If you're driving, you got your arm up on one side, your right trap's probably gonna be higher than your left trap, right? So personally, my traps have kind of balanced out a lot. It used to be my left was way, way higher. Essentially what you're gonna do is, again, put this up against the wall, and you're just gonna dig this ball right into that pressure point of the trap and just roll back and forth right there. That's gonna relieve a lot of pressure. It's gonna be better than your girlfriend's or your boyfriend's dinky little fingers kind of massaging that area. This lacrosse ball gets in there. And if you're doing this right, you're literally going to feel pain all the way up your neck, even into your cranium, even into your freaking head. You might get a headache from this one, so be careful, right? But just make sure that you're releasing the trap as much as you possibly can and keeping them loose on a daily basis. Also, you can get the middle trap, the lower trap, by putting it up against the wall like that and just finding areas there. Mine actually normally aren't that tight, but if you can find a pressure point right there, once you find a point, dig into it, then you can even move your shoulder up and down like this to help with range of motion and mobility. You can also do that on the floor if you want, but. Next thing we're gonna do is for the lower body as well. Again, we're gonna keep this in the theme of sitting down all day. Your hip flexors, which is this tendon right here, okay? Your hip flexors are what's gonna shorten up and tighten if you're constantly in a seated position, right? So essentially you wanna be stretching these out daily, especially if you are sitting a lot. If you have over tightened hip flexors, you're essentially gonna pull into an anterior pelvic tilt, which is looking like this, right? So by loosening these up, naturally, you're gonna pull your pelvis back into an alignment. So what you need to do is you simply just need to get into a lunge position. But before I get into the lunge position, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna squeeze my glutes as hard as I possibly can. By squeezing my glutes, what I'm doing is putting my pelvis in a posterior tilt position, which is gonna naturally already stretch the hip flexor. So squeeze the glutes, get right down into this lunge position. You should already feel a stretch right here in your hip flexor. Now, to take it to the next level, keep the glutes squeezed, keep your torso upright, and just slightly lean yourself forward. You should not be able to go past this position. If you're leaning too far forward like this, you need to squeeze your glutes harder and make sure that you're posteriorly tilting your pelvis as much as you can. And you wanna hold this stretch, which you're gonna feel in your upper quad and your hip flexor, for about a minute on each side. Once the hip flexors are nice and loose, okay, this is going to be
Kind of the same thing as the active release here on the medial glute, but this time it's just gonna be a stretch for the glute, which is gonna play a big role in your lower back tightness as well. So there's a few different ways I like to do this. This is personally my favorite way. If you can grab a couch, a box at the gym, whatever you need to, a chair, just go ahead and lay on this. And this is a variation of the pigeon pose. So essentially, just lay your leg this way. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna bend down until you feel a massive stretch right here in your glute. I'm actually gonna reach around this way, okay? And the more that I lean over, the more I'm gonna feel that stretch in my glute. This one's gonna be painful. This one's gonna hurt. You're gonna wanna hold this for about 30 seconds to a minute. Next one's gonna help a lot with opening up the hips as well, okay? Why is hip mobility so important? One, it allows you to actually hit squat depth and hit it comfortably, right? A lot of people say, oh, I deal with so much hip pain when I squat. It's because you're not taking care of yourself, right? Or your squat mechanics are off, or you're not doing your form right. That's gonna be most important. But just natural upkeeping. As you continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger, you're putting more exertion, you're putting more load on your legs and your hips. Like, you wanna make sure that they are healthy and they are mobile. So the last thing you wanna do is be age 30 and be in a freaking wheelchair with a cane, okay? All right, I'm 22 years old, I gotta protect my body. This one, you know, I call this the frog, all right? You're gonna get yourself into a kind of a frog leg position as much as you can that you're comfortable with, right? And then you're basically just gonna sit yourself back and you're gonna feel a massive stretch in your groin here. You could also do the butterfly pose, but this one's a little bit more advanced. This one's gonna open up your hips so well, and you're especially gonna feel this open up really in your adductor and your groin area. So do this, and to make it even harder, you know, bend over completely and then just sit back your hips as much as you can. So from right here, just sit back as much as you can and hold that. Last one is going to be for the lower back as well, right? If you're sitting a lot, you're gonna have very tight hamstrings, right? Think about it. When your hamstrings are pulling here and they're shortening and they're tightening, that's pulling on your glutes, right? Your glutes connect to your lower back, to your quadratus lumborum. Keeping your hamstrings very loose is super important. But these are some of the most basic stretches that you can possibly do. I just wanted to show you guys a few of my variations that I like to do. So one is a normal leg crossover, just like this, and go ahead and touch your toes. And this is stretching the back hamstring right here. My hamstrings are actually super loose, like all the time. I'm probably pretty flexible. And then do this one. I actually don't do this stretch this often because it really doesn't, you know, do much for my hamstrings because they are pretty flexible as is. So if that's hard for you, do that. If that's too easy for you, what I recommend is doing, I think it's called the hurdler stretch, where you just put your heel up right here, and then you're just gonna bend over and bring your head to your knee, and basically just rest your head on your knee if you can get down there. Now this is the one that I need to do that really stretches my hamstring out. I'm telling you right now, if you can't touch your toes, you got some work to do, okay? If you can't touch your head to your knee either, you got some work to do. We have one more stretch before we get into the foam rolling, right? But this one is going to be for the quads, okay? If you're someone that's dealing with a lot of knee pain, this is going to root from the surrounding connective muscle tissue, again, which is going to be your quad, okay? So this could be your rectus femoris as well as your vastus medialis, but essentially you're gonna get back into this lunge position just like you were in the hip flexor stretch. You're gonna go ahead, if you need to grab something or hold on to something, do so. I just grab my knee right here, but I'm actually gonna grab my back foot and I'm gonna bring my back foot as far possible as forward and then actually lean myself forward similar to how I was with the hip flexor. You're gonna feel a massive stretch around the outside of your quad rectus femoris here. I'm just gonna hold that. All right, we're gonna get into the foam rolling now. So let's start with knee pain, right? If you're someone that's dealing with a lot of knee pain, right? Maybe you have past knee surgeries, right? If you had meniscus tears, you know, that's, you know, directly at the knee. But if you're dealing with knee pain and you've never really had prior knee pain issues before, it's probably gonna come from your IT band, which runs around the side here of your quad, or your vastus medialis, which is right here in that teardrop of the quad, okay? So these over tightening are going to surround directly to the knee. I've only really dealt with knee pain once in my training career, and it's because of not foam rolling these two areas. Once I actually paid attention to that, that's where my knee pain relieved right away. So to get that IT band, this is pretty simple. I mean, foam rolling basics here. So just roll across the side right here. Make sure that all of your weight is on your leg, okay? Put this leg on top of this leg. The more weight on there, the better. The harder the foam roller, the better as well. So you're just gonna roll very, very slowly. I see a lot of people just do this back and forth. Guys, you wanna go very, very slowly across here. And if there's one area, which is right there, that hurts pretty bad, all you're gonna do is just move back and forth on that until that releases. Like with foam rolling, guys, it's not gonna do much for you unless you stay very patient with it and you actually release that muscle.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts.
All right, last one here is going to be on the inside right here, right? If you have very tight vastus medialis, this is probably gonna be the most painful foam rolling experience for you possible, which means that you need it the most. Now, if you're having trouble, if you have a soft foam roller, I'm gonna recommend that you use a lacrosse ball instead on your IT band or your vastus medialis, but this one's pretty solid, so it does the job pretty well. Okay, so this one, I'm just going to roll back and forth here on this teardrop of the quad, and I'm actually gonna go all the way up into my groin area and all the way back down. But again, you wanna feel for those pressure points. If you feel that pressure point, spend some time on there to work it out. Basically, had to look like you're pissing on a fire hydrant, but pretty loose, man. So one thing I want to let you guys know is the foam roller don'ts, okay? And this is a very important don't that, you know, if I'm honest, I didn't really know until this year. And, you know, think about it when, I was dealing with lower back pain in the gym, what's the first thing people want to do? Grab the foam roller and just go on the lower back and the lower back only. That's exactly what you don't want to do. Again, start with the surrounding connective tissue, start with the glutes, start with the hip mobility. That's going to unlock your lower back. Number two, the reason why you don't want to use a foam roller on your lower back is because you don't have structural support on your lower back. Think about it. You can foam roll all you want on your upper mid back. It feels great. You know, if you feel pops, but you have your shoulder blades there. You also have your spinal erectors. You also have your rhomboids, or you also have your traps, okay? That is surrounding muscle tissue that is supporting the structure of your upper back. When you move to the lower back, you don't have that structure there. So this is literally just crushing your vertebrae up and down, and it's not doing any work as far as releasing your muscles. So that is one thing to keep in mind, guys, if you are dealing with back pain and you're thinking about grabbing the foam roller first off. So one thing as well is that Haman actually brought this to my attention. When you're foam rolling your lower back, think about it. Your rib cage stops to support your lower back, so you don't have your rib cage to support you either. But one last thing is I want to show you guys the QLs, right? These are the muscles that everyone kind of forgets about. These are also connected directly to your lower back, to your glutes, etc., etc. You might have one side of your torso that's leaning over more so than the other. You know, 9 out of 10 times it's gonna be because of a shortened QL. So one thing that I like to do, and I do this every day because I have a right side imbalance, which has actually corrected itself a bunch throughout the last year because I've been doing this just daily, right? It's just about what you do daily to build those daily habits that'll help you overcome anything. Posture and balance is anything. So when you go against the wall here, you just want to put your elbow here and you just want to shift your hip into the wall and do this for sets of 10 on each side, right? Especially if you have one side that's tighter than the other, or you have one side of your torso that sits lower than the other, like mine. This is a very, very important stretch to do for your QL. So you can sit there and hold it, or you can do it a more dynamic style like this, whichever is best for you. And one thing to end you guys off on for the neck as well, if you're doing with neck or a rounded back, just make sure, guys, that you are constantly just reminding yourself to pull your traps up, back, and down, okay? And for your neck, you can do neck tucks like this. And just doing that periodically throughout the day, while you're at your desk, while you're working, just being mindful. Being mindful of this stuff is all you really need, right? I know it seems like a lot of work. It's like, oh wow, it's like 15, 20 minutes out of my day to do every day to do that mobility routine. Just be mindful of it, right? Especially from a posture standpoint. And just know next time when you're dealing with any of these pains, this is how to correct them. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this provided you some value. Let me know if any questions you have down below. Let me know if you're dealing with any pains. You know, I'll do my best to respond to a comment and help you out. I'm not a physical therapist by any means, right? But I do have experience from physical therapists that I went to in the past, chiropractors that I went to in the past, and pains that I've dealt with in the past. So, you know, I'm coming from a place of experience, dealing from pain, dealing from injury myself. And if you can prevent the pain, if you can prevent the injury, do all you can to do it. And that said, peace out, and I'll see you in the next video.